You could be right and I could be wrong. We could just fight and we could be strong. You could be right and I could be wrong. We could just fight and we could be
This is Bridge the Gap, the program that seeks for the truth no matter where it is found. Welcome to the show. I've got Adam here today with me. Thank you for being willing to talk with us.
Whatever you need, as long as the check cashes. Right?
I want to go back to Ogden. Do you remember the time that I went to your location about 11 o'clock at night? You were asking for some money, and I got you in the car, and then I didn't give you the money. Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell us from your perspective what happened that night?
I remember we went to the Maverick, and then you just all of a sudden decided, no, this isn't a good idea. You dropped me off. I'd been at your house over the weekend. I don't remember if I asked. I think I asked. Sorry for that. I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, I remember asking you to, I don't remember how much. It wasn't a lot, was it? Like $100 or something. I don't remember. But yeah, maybe you could help me remember everything.
Well, and I don't know that I remember everything exact either, but my recollection is that you had called Ben, and then he came in and talked to me. And I told him, don't worry, Ben, I'll take care of your dad. So I jumped in the car and I drove out there. And by the time I got there, it was like 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you brought me back from your house, but I think that's right.
Yeah, it took, an hour and a half to get there. Mm-hmm. And then you were standing on the curb because we worked that out. And you jumped in the car and you thought I was going to take you to an ATM machine. And then I started quizzing you. Mm-hmm. And you failed to give me the doctor's phone number. Yeah. And so I wouldn't give you the money. Mm-hmm. You remember that now?
Yep.
Okay.
Because once you said standing outside, I even remember wearing my black Puma shorts that night.
You remember all that. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't trying to, call you out or anything.
I mean, that's the life you live. I mean, I mean, when everybody around you is doing drugs all the time and you're a drug addict and you're not doing them, right? Mm-hmm. And you smell them and you see them and somebody next door says, hey, come on over, and you're dealing with it, and then you're right back in it. You will do anything. I don't remember so much talking to Ben about it. I don't remember telling him I'm going to die. I don't remember that because I didn't.
Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. I don't know the exact words that were used, but the impression was that Ben had at least maybe he was even just communicating that to me to give me a sense of urgency about the problem. Probably. That could have been what that was. Right. But I was definitely given the impression that Ben felt as though if I didn't go give you some money immediately tonight, you would probably not survive.
Yeah, Ben was probably... Yeah, I know I never said that to Ben, but he maybe felt like, considering my health and my past, and
it's all water under the bridge. Mm-hmm. I'm just, it's a curious story.
Use the money to buy drugs.
Yeah. And at the time you didn't know me very well. You couldn't admit that. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of got into a little banter back and forth because I totally suspected that's what it was for. Mm-hmm. But you would say anything but admit that, and then when I started digging deeper and deeper, you just came up with different excuses. Well, it's not really for the doctor. It's for my landlord. Well, it's not really for the landlord. It's for a loan shark.
Really?
Yeah, you probably don't remember that. No, but it just started bouncing around. I said, look, a simple rule. Phone number for money. I'll call the person and I'll work it out. I really did want to help. And I don't know if that was even helpful. But I didn't give you what you wanted that night.
That's the thing about drugs is I know at that time, that's exactly what it was for. But when I think the reason why I don't remember a lot of details about that time, and you can ask me about other times, but when you're on the drugs, it
gets blurry.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many blank spots in my life. Like when I was in Minnesota, Shannon was bringing me weed, right? Mm-hmm. She had a niece that was in high school and she knew a drug dealer, and we'd drive up 50 miles up the road and we'd go pick up weed, and I have so many blank spots about Minnesota because not only was I being prescribed marijuana, but I was getting it off the street and I was on opioids. And there were times where it would run out, right? Mm-hmm. And I would get desperate. And I remember doing anything I could to get some weed or going to a different doctor because back, right around that time was when they were transitioning into it was an opioid crisis, right? Mm-hmm. So it was right before that began. Yeah. So I'd go to this doctor and then go to that doctor. Mm-hmm. You could get away with it back then. and not so much now. I was in Minnesota 3 years, and I was in the hospital for most of it, but I don't remember hardly any of it. I don't remember hardly any. I know Ben and Isaac came out there and stayed for a week. Barely remember it.
Well, I can't relate to that, but I can sympathize with it, and I can imagine what it would be like.
Well, you know who Snoop Dogg is, right?
I do.
Okay, so Snoop Dogg posts a picture of him and Kurt Cobain. He was the lead singer for Nirvana that killed himself back from like 90 or 91, right? Said some caption. Snoop Dogg posted this, right? Up on his Twitter account or something. This has just happened this week. And he actually got that picture off a website that produces fake pictures.
No kidding.
On purpose to see what it would be like if these two celebrities were together. And it was Snoop Dogg holding a joint, you know, leaning up against a nightstand next to Kurt Cobain, who's laying on a bed with a big smile laughing on his face, and Snoop's hitting a joint. And Snoop posts that like this really happened. And then somebody from the website saw that he posted it, and they're like, dude, that didn't happen. We just put those two pictures together. But in Snoop's mind, it happened.
Really?
You know, he saw a picture, but that's what drugs do.
Wow. So he really believed the picture.
Yeah. He even admitted, like, well, I guess I was getting high a lot.
Wow, that's interesting, because that goes deep.
Yeah.
That's a different conversation altogether.
Sure, but it's just, I mean, drugs cloud you. You know, they cloud your judgment. I mean, it makes me feel terrible for Ben if I made him feel that. You know,
I know that. I know that.
It's like, man, did I really do that to Ben? You know, it's bad enough that I tried to manipulate you, but if I put Ben in that situation, I mean, what kind of
I know
dad,
that.
What kind of dad does that?
Well, you weren't in your right frame of mind.
No.
I've always believed you're a really good guy struggling with a drug addiction. You know that. I've always believed in you. I don't know how, if you'll ever kick your drug addiction.
It's always going to be there.
I will, right. Whether you're an active user or if it's something that's in the past, I can't do that for you.
Well, it's like Dave said, you know, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but it's like, he says, you get addicted to these things, right? But they're the same things that the doctors are prescribing you, you know, to get better. And, you know, in order to feel better, you know, you have to have these certain things like the opioids I'm on right now, the oxys that I take. You've said before, you've pointed things out, how much different I am. Because they do make me feel better. Like, they take away that physical pain, but they provide a euphoric effect. So they make coping with the crap that I'm dealing with easier. At the same time, they're destroying my liver, and I'm addicted to them. So as soon as I try to get off of them, what am I going to go through when I try to get off of them?
The withdrawals?
Not just the withdrawals, but the need to have that crutch.
Yeah.
Because aside from the pain, let's say the pain gets remedied, you know, through some way, it gets better and I can deal with it. But you depend on the drug also for a different state of mind. Because when you're depressed, when you're sick all the time, you need to not be in that frame of mind. And those drugs, whether it be weed, alcohol, opioids, those were the drugs that I use. They give me a sense of, I'm not feeling that right now.
Disconnected.
Exactly. So since I'm disconnected from those negative feelings, I may not be 100% positive, but I'm not negative. You know what I mean? I'm able to just kind of coast, you know, and sometimes even be productive.
Yeah. And it's easy for me to say, just don't do it. You know, I genuinely want to help. I just don't know how.
Well, you can't.
And I'm under the belief that if you could kick this, it would be better for you.
Sure.
But that journey from where you are now to where you don't need that anymore is the big black box. I want to help you get through the black box, but I don't know how.
What it comes down to, though, it isn't even so much choice, I think, for somebody like me. You know what I mean? There's people that are way worse than I am as far as their drug addictions go. I feel like I'm able to control it to an extent. Like with the opioids, I don't bounce around from doctor to doctor. I don't use my whole prescription in a day, you know, like I used to. You know, I'm not out smoking weed all the time. It's so hard to say what exactly it is. I mean, choice is one thing. You can choose, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to choose not to. But what happens when I get sick again and I go to the emergency room and I'm in pain? And the only thing that's going to remedy that is opioids. And they give me some Dilaudid, you know, a couple of doses and whap, I'm back at the doctor's office needing it again. You know what I mean? Medical marijuana, huge for my condition. You know, the nausea and the stomach thing, huge for me. It provides so many benefits for me just from the physical aspect. Having that around all the time would be great in a lot of ways, but it's so bad for me like spiritually, right?
Yeah.
In some ways, you know, because sometimes it's like when you don't have it, that's all you think about. When you do have it, that's all you think about. So when you're in the middle of that, like, you know, doing it, not doing it, doing it, not doing it, you know, you're in this constant flux. And then, you know, that need never goes away. You know, it's only separating itself from it for a time, which I've done. Yeah. Separated myself from it for a time, you know, a year or two, but then something happens and, you know, I'm back on it.
A bad experience, and then you're right back. You know, I've not struggled with drug addiction myself, but divorce is something that I've experienced, which was super traumatic for me. Seems like from that experience of having to go through a divorce and being remarried, you get to know a lot of people. And it seems like we all, not everybody, but it's a very human thing to, when you go through a bad experience, a hardship, that you fall back to the furthest place where you had fallen before. It's like we're all kind of making choices that we're not proud of, and then we dig our way back out, and then something super traumatic happens, and we go right back to the lowest place that we were to start climbing back out again.
Sure, it does. I've lived it, you know, and for me, it's drugs. You know, it's going back to that weed, you know, going back to the opioids, you know, and getting super addicted to them and doing them every day, you know, and finding every way I can to get these drugs or whatever. And when I can't get those, buying alcohol. And for somebody else, it might be pornography. For somebody else, it might be going out and sleeping with a whole bunch of women because they just got divorced or whatever. You know, everybody has their thing that they use to fill that gap that they feel that they need to fill. So for me, it just happens to be weed and opioids.
Well, and that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. I didn't know anything about this until a couple months ago, and Cindy's the one that brought it up to me. I was excited, like, oh, maybe this is the solution. This is what Adam has, because whether it was prescription marijuana, the pills and stuff like that, or whatever, because I wasn't really aware of the extensiveness of your drug use, except that I knew that you had used drugs and marijuana was something that you had admitted to. I also knew that gave relief from nausea, and that was your big issue. And then this hyperemesis syndrome says, well, it gets to the point where people who are habitual marijuana users, it actually reverts to what gave them relief from nausea now actually creates the nausea. And the only relief that these people can get are hours in the hot shower. And I'm like, this is Adam. He's always nauseous. He's always in the shower. It's like, this is the answer. And we just need to deal with it, and you can be free from that. And I approached you with that positive intent, and you shot me down.
Well, for me, it was more Cindy looking for something to blame. One more reason drugs are bad. You shouldn't be doing marijuana. And that's how I took it.
You didn't take it as this is a solution for me. It was a way to criticize me.
Right. And because when they prescribe me this stuff, you go through this study and they test you out on the drugs for 6 months, right? To see how it affects. Because they've been aware of this for a long time. It really hasn't really come out until the marijuana thing started to become legalized in different
California
states,
and,
right?
well, what is it? Oregon,
California, Colorado, states like that, where people are getting their gallbladders removed because they think there's something wrong, but it's really this. And so I went through this twice when I was in Minnesota, 2 different times, and I didn't have it. And I wasn't, I went 2 years without any marijuana. Since I've been in Utah, I went 2 years straight. It was when I first moved into your house until after I had my spine fused, which was about 2 years, a little over 2 years. And I was still sick. I was still getting sick all the time, and Cindy knew this. And I took that, as Cindy just looking for something to blame other than the disease itself. Because when you get diagnosed with gastroparesis, it's not like, oh, we think you have. It's like you do have.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of whether or not I have a disease or not. And to me, Cindy's never given it the weight that it deserves. Like how much it actually is impacting me. And yeah, that is a real thing. I have no doubt. You know, I've seen reports on it on TV. I've read about it as far as 10 years ago when I first got sick.
Well, as a layperson, I think it's both. You know, I think you have gastroparesis, and I think you are suffering from the cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, or have a propensity to fall victim to that when you're using the marijuana. But I don't know. You have to decide that for yourself.
Maybe I've developed it over the years, and
we could try and treat it if we believe that, right? And when I say we, you believe that.
But like, well, sure. But I mean, like, I think about this. I thought about this, and like, just compare it to what happened last week. I was in the hospital 4 different times, 3 days in a row.
Okay, five different times,
4 hospitals
over 3 days.
I was sick, you know. I was just, I couldn't control the nausea, you know, and I hadn't been smoking weed, you know. I hadn't been doing anything. I've been taking opioids, you know.
And you're getting those prescribed
from the same doctor, you know, so it's done right. But yeah, I did that's gastroparesis. You get these flare-ups, you know, and you deal with them as best you can, and they reach a point where, for me, it's really scary now because I go into the DKA, but it goes on for days and days and days, and during that time, my blood sugars are 500, 600, 700, you know, just ridiculous amounts, and that produces a lot of acid that gets in the blood, which goes down into the kidneys, and the kidneys start to shut down. And so, for me, that's the problem right now. You know, that's why it's like, when it's not being treated as such, it gets really scary for me, you know, and that's why I was, you know, we ended up at the U the last time.
Yeah. So this is what we did is we took you up to the University of Utah for a regular appointment, right? Where they suggested that you go into the emergency room because you were shutting down, right? And you asked to go to the Murray Hospital, right? And then we go there, check you in, they give you 50 milliliters of ketamine, which is what you wanted because you're finding that actually does give you relief.
Oh, instant.
And so you came out of there happy, and 12 hours later,
it was like 6 hours.
Was it? So you struggled for another 6 hours because it wasn't until the next day that I ended up taking you into the emergency room in American Fork because you asked to go there. You said, look, I
wanted you to come in and support me. I was like, come in with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to the doctor, explain to him, I really am sick, because at this point there had been doctors at American Fork who had accused you of drug seeking and weren't giving you the ketamine that you felt that you needed so badly. Right. And so you're Mark advocate for me. And, what did I say? I said, look, Adam, when you go to the doctor and they don't give you what you need, you get really mad at the doctors. Yeah. And I don't want you to get really mad at me if I try to advocate for you and I don't say the right thing and you don't end up getting what you need or want. So I will do that, but I just want you to know I'm apprehensive about this. And what can I say to a doctor? Right. They're the expert. I'm there to take you to the doctor and let the doctor decide as the professional what is good for you, right? You understood all that. You were very respectful, and you still asked if I would go in with you, right? And I did. What I learned, because normally, because of the HIPAA laws and stuff, I don't get to hear the conversations that are between you and the doctor because they want to keep those confidential. But if I'm invited in there, I'm going to hear those conversations, right? And so this is the doctor that didn't want to give you ketamine. You knew that right away, remember?
Well, I thought it was. I remember I thought
it was a different doctor?
Guy with the beard.
Oh, you thought it would be?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it ended up being a different doctor. And then he explained it to us. He's like, you can't have it so frequently.
Because you had just had it 12 hours earlier. And he said...
So what did he do instead?
He gave you some
opioids.
Yeah.
He gave me Dilaudid. You know, it's like, oh, well, that's so much better. Thank you. I mean, that's going to make me feel a little happier, but it's not going to do anything to...
What I kind of heard his side of the conversation and was, look, you just had ketamine 12 hours ago. This is a dangerous drug, and we don't know a lot about it, and I'm not going to give it to you again. And that was frustrating to you, and you didn't think he was going to give you anything else, and you were really frustrated at that point. And I'm just observing, I'm just watching this whole thing go down, and you're kind of getting into a respectful argument with the doctor. You're just pleading with him, look, I am so sick. What can you do to help me? And finally he caves and he gives you Dilaudid as a
Right?
Which you didn't ask for. I could just see the sparkle in your eye as soon as he said that.
Well, it's because I knew I was going to get
you were going to get relief.
Some relief.
You're like, oh, okay, I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. That was the feeling I felt in the room. And you relaxed. Your pressure of getting something to get relief was immediately alleviated as soon as he said, I'll give you some Dilaudid. Mm-hmm. Then we take you home. Oh, and during that same conversation with that doctor, he's saying, yeah, I pulled up the records from the Murray Hospital and you got 50 milliliters of ketamine yesterday, so I'm not giving it to you again today. Which led to another conversation about sharing records between hospitals. And one of the things that he brought up is that they don't actually have a system to exchange records between the unit. Maybe it's a simple system. I don't know for sure. I'm not a doctor, but it kind of came out that it's not easy to get information from the University of Utah. Mm. And I made a mental note of that. I think you did too. And so
Which is funny because the U can get it from Intermountain, but Intermountain
can't get it from the U. Is that how it works? Mm-hmm. So you actually know more about that than I do.
Yeah.
So then we leave that doctor and you got the Dilaudid. Mm-hmm. Then the next day, you're still in agony and you're going through a really bad experience. And so you say, will you take me back to American Fork Hospital? Church was just getting ready to start and I was supposed to teach my primary class, but I rushed you down to the hospital so that I could come back and make it in time to teach my primary class. Mm-hmm. Then you called me back after my primary class was done. So I went and got you and you said they gave me ketamine and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And you were still miserable. And you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. So you just went home and just struggled and it was just, horrible to watch. By the middle of the afternoon, you're like, can you take me back to the hospital again? I'm like, where do you want to go? And you said University of Utah. Now, what's going through my head is he just learned that he could probably get the ketamine from the University of Utah because of this lack of exchanging information. Mm-hmm. But you just now indicated to me that university can get it from them. They just can't get it from the University of Utah. So maybe I don't know what the truth is about that, but I could have misinterpreted that intention. But right or wrong, this is me. This is my mind trying to interpret your world and seeing that, well, I'll take him again back to that rule. The doctor gets to decide, right? And so I took you up there and they gave you 50 milliliters of ketamine again. Mm-hmm. And so you were good and you came home. So that was a real interesting weekend, right? It was a tough weekend. Mm-hmm. I find it very interesting that the next day you had me go fill a new prescription for Oxycontin, is it?
Yep.
And you haven't had another bout and asked me to take you to the emergency room now for a week?
About a week and a half.
Week and a half.
Mm. Yeah, my thoughts on that, Mark, honestly, are I know ketamine's dangerous because I've experienced it. When I was first getting it, they were just giving me a straight dose, undiluted. And you get that and you are in a different dimension for 20 minutes, half hour. You were somewhere else. You see the gears of the universe at work. Yeah, it's trippy. Euphoric, not so much. But it's a disassociative and it takes you away from what you're experiencing. Jihadists and stuff are using this when they're cutting people's heads off. So they're more submissive so they don't fight back. Mm-hmm. So a guy get his head taken off with a meat cleaver and he didn't even blink because he was so doped up on ketamine. But my thoughts are, I'm going to die anyway. I'm not going to live a full life. Just because that's the nature of what I'm dealing with. Diabetes, DKA, gastroparesis, no stomach, my kidneys are failing. If ketamine's going to kill me, I don't care. What's the difference between, so I have to suffer and not get the ketamine and die? Or I get the ketamine, don't suffer and die? What's the better option?
Yeah. I get that perspective. In fact, it reminds me of a coworker many years ago whose husband died of cancer from smoking cigarettes. He was diagnosed with a very aggressive cancer, lung cancer, and he was given a very short period of time to live. He never quit smoking. His wife, who was the one that I worked with, made the comment very similar to yours. Why close the barn door if the horse has already gotten out?
Right. So when I was at the Mayo Clinic, I watched people couple of them that were my hospital mates die of cancer, right? They were in their last stages. And you should see the amount of drugs these people get. I mean, over a 3-week period, I watched one guy named Eric. I have never seen so many narcotics injected into somebody over the span of a day, or an hour. This guy was getting 4 or 5 milliliters of Dilaudid, which at most I would ever get 2. This is post removing my stomach.
People in hospice, same deal, right? Yeah, they're dying. They might as well make them comfortable. Let's give them what will make them die peacefully without pain.
Exactly. So I understand doctors have an oath they take, do no harm, right? And with respect to that, I can say that being on the short end of that stick where I'm the one suffering and I'm the one needing the drugs that they've introduced to me and said, here, we're going to give you this, like the ketamine. I hadn't even heard about this drug until 4 or 5 months ago. And then they said, we're going to give you ketamine this time. Okay, whatever. I'm going to go throw up. They give it to me. 10 seconds later, I'm 100%. But I'm going into DKA, so I get admitted to the ICU, but all my symptoms are gone.
Wow.
And so we have these things that can alleviate your pain, alleviate your suffering for hours at a time. And when you're talking, like you see me, I go weak, this heaving syndrome and I'm not eating and I'm suffering and I'm in the shower and I'm throwing up and not sleeping and I'm just miserable. And wham, they introduced this thing to me and all that's gone. There's nothing more important in those moments than getting rid of that suffering, because it's like, for me, that's the ultimate form of suffering for me that I've ever experienced, is nonstop nausea, nonstop heaving, and no relief in sight. The stuff they give me to take home doesn't work. The oxys don't work. The antiemetics don't work. The only relief I get is brief, and it's when I'm in a super hot shower that scalds my skin. I'm out of the shower 10 minutes and I'm heaving again. I'll come to the emergency room and get some medications, whether they're narcotics, antiemetics, ketamine. I'll come back the next day, and then the next day I'm in DKA, right? And that's what I worry about, because when I die, I don't want to die on a hospital bed because I went into DKA. I don't want to die in a shower because I was too afraid to go to the hospital and ask them for the relief that I need, so I don't have to go through the conversations of trying to justify why I need these particular drugs. So yeah, I'm a drug addict, but at the same time, if I don't get these drugs at a certain time and in a certain way, I'll die. It'll lead to death. I won't die in the moment, but it will lead to that. And it's already done that to me before. I mean, my kidneys have just shut down on their own. My dad found me one time, when I was living in Brigham City. Walked in and I was laying on my bed, butt naked, sweating to death and in a coma. That's that time.
Not something I want to picture.
Yeah, right? That's right after. That's when we went to the Uintas. Remember, with my feet had gotten all swollen?
Yes, I do.
That's when my kidneys just shut down on their own.
And you spent a couple of days in the hospital.
I was afraid to go in and ask, the emergency room doctor. I just didn't have the strength to battle with them verbally
And that was before you moved into our house, because I remember that was the first overnight trip we had done together, because we wanted you to be with your kids, and you had just come out. You were really depressed and sad, and it's like, well, we're going to go do something fun. Why don't you come with us? You peed a lot and laid in a little patch of green grass by the lake the whole time. I
didn't do anything.
You didn't hardly move.
Oh, I played Monopoly.
All right. For what, 10 minutes?
Probably.
Good for you. I mean, you went to be with your kids, and I'm sure that they were glad to have you there.
Yeah, they were. It was a good time.
So
regardless, they understand that their dad's crippled.
Yeah, they're not beating you up over it.
I was handicapped and disabled before it was cool.
Now it's cool.
Now it's cool.
See, you do have a great sense of humor. You should tell more jokes.
I would, but my audience is too small.
I think we've spent our time.
Thanks for having me.
Would you like to do this again?
Sure.
Thank you. That's it for this episode of Bridge the Gap.